Florida Surgeon General personally altered data that originally has suggested that SARS-CoV-2 COVID virus was causing more damage to young men's hearts than the messenger RNA vaccines. But after he altered the data, he came to a different conclusion, saying that the vaccine was much more dangerous. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, it's Dr. David. So this story goes back a bit into 2021-2022, when everybody was scrambling to figure out what the best thing to do regarding the COVID vaccine. Now, at the time, Florida's new Surgeon General, Dr. Lopado, had come out and said that the vaccine, messenger RNA versions in particular, was significantly more damaging to the hearts of young men than the virus did, and came out and flat out said that young people should not get the vaccine. Okay? Now we are learning through a Freedom of Information Act release that the opposite happened. That the data, and in the initial drafts from the Florida state-sponsored study, showed that the virus was causing more damage. But after altering the data, removing some of the studies, putting another one in, that's when the draft that was listed as Dr. L's edits, that he personally altered this. This wasn't an underling. This wasn't a committee. This was him personally altering the data. Now, of course, he did point out originally that the vaccine was brought forth way too fast. Not enough research was done, especially in younger people. That things were very rushed. We were not able to look at side effects. All of that is true. We were also in the middle of an emergency. 10,000 people a day in America were dying from COVID. So, of course, when in an emergency situation, whether there was an emergency authorization as opposed to a full approval, that's another story. But at the time, of course, we were in dire straits. And so people were trying to come up with all types of ways in order to fight back. Now, his edits, the document literally says Dr. L's edits. So there were multiple versions, multiple drafts of this document that kept on saying that the virus was causing damage to the hearts and that the vaccines, well, of course, we've learned that myocarditis, pericarditis could happen, but that the virus was causing more damage. And this was in particular true to people ages 18 to 39 and of men, when he then went on to say, no, it's more dangerous to the heart of young men just to get the vaccine in the first place. Now, the researchers who viewed all of this data, they said that he's the one that removed this. And of course, if the information had been left in, the conclusions that may have been drawn for people to make their own decisions probably would have been different. Now, what's my take on all of this? Now, first of all, when Governor DeSantis named Dr. Lopado as the Surgeon General, I was really quite interested and intrigued to see what he was going to bring to the table, because he was somebody who was advocating for medical freedom and for autonomy over one's body. And just to quote him right, he did say that he believes that giving a vaccine should be an individual choice, which of course is what I have advocated on this channel all along. And we presented the data, we talked about the risks and the benefits, we've talked about how it's changed all along. But certainly when he was making these initial comments, I was like, okay, let's see what you have here. You know, are we going to have a fresh voice here that will actually advocate for the truth? Now, he was a Harvard-trained doctor. He was a professor at UCLA and NYU. So this guy had the cred. So I was definitely willing to say, let's see what we brought here. But things changed for me when he originally changed this data around and then flat out said people should not get the vaccine, which is different than saying that he doesn't personally recommend someone get the vaccine. But when you say, I recommend you don't get the vaccine, that is a very different implication. Okay, now, I did make several videos about this, and we've put the links to this down in the notes below. If you want to kind of see what my take was on the time, feel free to do though. If you don't want to, don't, but you can kind of see it was all there. But here's the thing for me. By all means, people are entitled to their own opinions. They're just not entitled to their own facts, okay? And if he would have come out and said, you know, I am not convinced that this data tells me that this is all safe. I'm concerned about the safety of this. Maybe you should consider not, depending on your risk factors. That's one thing. But to me, it is unethical to alter the data to pull stuff out and not explain why. He could have said, I'm pulling this information out of this report because I don't think it's good data. But he didn't do that. He just pulled it out. It's like he was trying to pull a fast one over on us, and that's where I have the problem. So, of course, things will go forward. But again, I have to take, for what this man says going forward, I have to take it with a grain of salt. Because he's established a pattern here about doing things that I don't believe are completely on board. When I, as a physician, need information to make a decision, when you, as a consumer, needs to make a decision, we should be sure that we're getting information from sources we trust. And with this, I'm sorry, I just can't trust them. Have a nice day.